Beloved star, welcome, warm welcome to Immortal Star Pod, episode 56. And yeah, so last week I asked the question of you and wondering whether to stay with the Immortal Starlight Dream podcast, which seems very, very long, and which is very, very long, and between Elven Pod, which is the title I was initially guided to, as I shared some years ago, and overwhelmingly the response is Elven Pod. And I'm very, very happy with that. That's in line with how I feel absolutely as well. So it would be fun. It feels really joyful and somehow carrying of an essence. And so yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to share this week. And also, yeah, I was wanting to share, I was just noticing how, because I made such a personal share last week, and that is part of my medicine, if you like. And I feel that invitation that comes from within my soul star stream, within my greater being at times, and quite frequently, to share from a very, very personal space, as well as from the expanded interpersonal and more universal stream. And so there's a movement for me back and forth between those spaces. And just as I began recording this, I was noticing, I was thinking not to go into that contraction, because when you share so much from your personal core, it's so easy to then want to close up or move away or hide that. And yeah, it's almost to traverse to completely the opposite end of the spectrum and just go into those very, very clean and universal and impersonal energies. So yeah, I was noticing that and feeling how there feels a different response that's possible. And as I notice my own energy over time and how it spontaneously shares from within that deeper intelligence of the self, that there is this natural movement back and forth between those spheres, and to trust that, trust the grace of that. So, and more than trust, perhaps, to actually listen and embark into that even more deeply, just to let the canoe sail and enjoy the journey, releasing any residual inner tension and that kind of core tension one can experience around the way your energy naturally gifts itself. Because what is so interesting about the natural energy is it's so unscripted, and we just can't find anyone else who is going to exactly mirror what we are. And the closer we get to expressing our crystalline essence, well, the less we want that, but also as that sense of having no external moorings, but really to be guided from within that innermost compass, that innermost star. Yeah, it can feel also like a loss of moorings, and something one would love to gain reassurance at some levels. But yeah, the beauty actually of letting, so not contracting in that way for myself, noticing it. Probably it's less of a propulsion than ever before, that contraction, which is probably why I'm even able to mention it when it has full hold. It's deeply secret that it's even happening. So yeah, and I feel I'm always curious about that, just as we transition into the dawn energy and come more and more back into our spheres, what it looks like as we share, communicate, guide one unto another, and this greater voice of the dawn echoes up amongst us, how that deeply unscripted starlight song begins to sound forth. That's something I reflect on a great deal and I'm deeply fascinated by. So it feels something that is still evolving in the collective field as well as within us individually. There is such a profound invitation to that, and perhaps even how our way showers, our guides, how we've shared up till now, it's still transforming, it's still transiting from an age of when we tend towards fixed forms because they hold us, when we tend towards those spheres of collective agreement and imitation, perhaps, in order to feel secure. And it is a great step into, yeah, that deeper canoe sailing, really, really trusting the soul star and the pure impulses, which sometimes look like flashes and patterns of the most deep and beautiful universal lighted patterns. So I experience this, and sometimes are pulsing through my innermost core as a human being and feel simply like the sharing of that innermost humanity. And so, yeah, so a reflection on this. Anyway, that's the relationship of the last pod, and I was so glad to share that. And it came very deeply guided to speak from there at that time. So yeah, just glancing at my notes that I've written for our shift, because what I'd love to share for this one is the energies for February and the energy of Imbolc. So blessings of Imbolc this day. We're very much in that gateway that I experience as a portal, a gateway of days, and recording this on the 2nd of February, the 2-2. So yeah, and for Elven Aurora, we really walk. This is the shamanic community of weekly ascension journeys, and we really attune and walk through these organic rhythms, the celestial earthly rhythms of these stargates, those festivals of light. And we're just coming up this evening. We'll have our beautiful Imbolc Stargate, and it's been very, very beautiful because the guidance for January has been so much to focus on that core and innermost presence, to really begin again from that innermost core as never before. And that's part of the new bandwave of 2024, the new solar bandwave, and the crystallinity of what we're called to, what's possible, what is birthed within the light continuum at this time. And of course, there are infinite divine potentialities infinitely available to us always. These are the collective wave pulses which, if you like, you can feel they gain prominence, and we really notice this is a strong bandwave. This is really, really presenting, and it's coming through the core of our earth, it's coming through our sun, it's coming through our core body soul consciousness and our solar angelic light codes for the dawn, each one of us. And it's this propulsion, this calling to rest into, to fall into innermost essence, into this experience of I am enough, and to not to build from anywhere else, probably a loss of a propulsion to build or to share from anywhere else, almost no need to put on extra ornaments, extra adornments, that to whatever degree you may have felt before, just becomes singularly, transparently clear that they're not needed, that your innermost essence, who you are, is in your core is more than enough, infinitely so, so much to explore and to reveal from within that core, still to come. And so as the veils, as the strictures, as the densities release, the bindings upon us, we're less and less paralyzed, less and less bound by these deep and paralyzing inertias that we've long had this longing. How can there be anything but to be that which we are from our innermost core? But it feels to me the great strictures and the harshness, the sense of oppression, the deep terrors of the soul and the psyche that have been woven around that place of sharing what we are, of flowing from here, are profoundly releasing collectively at this point of transition. So I have shared anyway of this in the earlier pods of this year, and especially the New Year pod. What I've been shown as we shift into February that is so beautiful is that we are still very much that focused of innermost core essence and presence. But we begin, it's as though, as I was shown it, like a fan, the fan of our angelic feathers, of our wings, begin to fan out, to extend from that innermost core, that center, into the orb, forming the orb of the aura. And again, it's a really, really beautiful moment to catch and to still into, because what we don't want to do is to catch any old carrier waves of extending into that greater presence, of old carrier waves of the idea of what it means to shine our light, to expand who we are, to to reveal ourselves, to share, to become here. So to catch any such old propulsions, and in alignment with that, to support that, a point of focus is just to check in with yourself, to feel in your innermost core if you've completed the deep release that this first moon of this year has offered. Because as you may have felt, quite a tension upon your core, upon your innermost core during this first wave, as it's really been called to recode. And just to check in with your innermost core, if you've allowed this completion in your core, this completion, this handing over, and this deep release of the old physical hologram, the old physical experience within you. And so just checking in with that, and as you feel that complete release, and I've seen it this week, it's been very beautiful, but it's been this mixture of great heaviness and great lightness all at once, as that sort of last filament or fragment of code within the core, which may embody a very dense point in experience, an experience of that harsh or restrictive reality, or that feels like it sort of sits on you, that encounter, as we meet that. And the best way to allow that to migrate is to neither, as I shared in the last pod, to allow yourself to feel deeply, to not move away from the discomforts, to not move away from the unpleasant experiences, as it were, but to let yourself feel, let the reverberation, because in being felt, it dissolves, it releases from your core, and meeting everything, meeting the stream of what we're called to as we stand in this place of innermost essence, is what allows the old wheel of movement away from essence to dissolve out. As we don't want to catch that ride again, we don't want to catch that wheel and start traveling it. So what we want to check is that our expansion this year really comes from that innermost core. So just checking in, is there anything I'm moving away from, avoiding, just denying at any level, and embracing, so that vibration of that experience within your stream can move, can dissolve to where it needs to. And this week I found myself in those deep vibrational core releases, and especially for me, the adrenaline of a massive house move, and packing away all of our things and going into actually quite an adrenalized state to move through all of that, and all of the core tension around that shift within my being, the losses of the last phase of life, all that it's been just deeply sensing in, because it's possible for my being already to go in a momentum forward, just to move on and on. But I can feel the unresolved fractals of core essence that still need to complete in the physical core, into the new vibration of resting into core essence, not running away. So I've been really, really going within and letting that deep, deep release keep happening, just by that profound listening to the discomfort also within the innermost presence. And with that also allowing the embrace the embrace of the beauty of what is coming through, not avoiding gifting the beauty of what longs to be given, but is coming from core essence, allowing the directives, the inspirations, not going into fear, but not stopping them, not blocking them, but actually moving forward with those impulses that belong to core presencing. And by that core presence coding able to establish itself within the physical for this next wave of, as I say, the fanning out of the feathers. So this is the orb of the aura that then gets to form from this core presence. So the mantra, if you like, is I am enough, and sit in that space. And if I am enough, what then? If I am enough, what then? It's a really beautiful question that you can ask yourself over and over again. If I am enough, what then? Even pose it as the soul adjusts into this frequency. If I am enough, just hypothetically, let's just suspend disbelief. If I am enough, what would I do then? What then? What comes from that? So that's a really beautiful point of focus and an invitation. And then what we are moving forward with, it will be authentic, very pure, very simple, and it will be something that doesn't generate those cycles that can lead to really imbalanced expenditure of your energy. Because when we come from any place that's not enough, i.e. coming from the place of I'm not enough, we tend to do one of two things, which is one is to overgive. So we end up putting in so much energy or putting it out in directions to compensate, because either consciously or unconsciously we're compensating for this feeling of I'm not enough within. So this overgiving that can happen, or there is just the profound holding back on that core gift we have to give, because that belief I'm not enough. And so what we enter is a cycle of immense over expenditure of energy that then, and also linked, but also a cycle of profound impoverishment, and that energetic cycle then plays itself out through the year. That's what we see revealed before us. So it feels as though we have at this moment, and I would imagine you're feeling it as well, because it feels so strong to me, the possibility to seed quite a different cycle and the wisdom to do so now. And it was so interesting because, you know, that directive, that inner wisdom of your core essence can act with no's as well. It's that no to overgiving or overflowing our energy in directions that we don't need to. Just holding in a little patience, really being willing to trust the wisdom intelligence within ourselves that is always giving us these cues, these clues. So I received one last night, and it was something beautiful that is very linked to my soul star. And I was trying to persuade myself, I was on a continuum of this is right, I need to do this. But my intuition and my body was becoming very, very uncomfortable, and I just couldn't go forward with the yes, but I was trying to push myself through it, wondering, is that fear resistance? And I think in the past I might have pushed through that. I would have pushed through, and because my mind would have gone with the story, yes, I've already decided this is something I must honor, this is the kind of thing I must do in order to be on this path of my soul star, and actually overridden that deep knowing of the no, and instead this time listening, and I could feel the profound relief within my being, because the energy freed up for what's really needed, the energy, the resources within my being. It was like, now that is a tension, a stress, an imbalance that won't have to be navigated in what we see as the future. It's now actually that this new bandwave of core essence, core presence, equaling deepest interconnection that is being supported, that is in continuity, that is being acted upon. So yeah, deep listening, just checking in with yourself continuously and your own beautiful ability to know, to really know. As I shared at the beginning, even when it, say for my shares, when it goes against what, how you may think you want to do things, more and more trusting ourselves. So just checking my notes for this. So yeah, if I am enough, what then? If I am enough, what then? Yeah, so I think where I'd love to finish with this Imbolc transmission and the energies of February is that, as you can feel, as I express, as we check in first and foremost with our completion of what's been happening, is our physical core is transiting into this new bandwave. So check in with your completion there. And then we can really allow, and you'll feel it, our attention is being shifted, and you'll be seeing more and more synchronizations, manifestations from within core presence, things effortlessly popping in, manifesting, mirroring this core presencing for this bandwave of this year to come. And by holding true, those get to synchronize. And as I said, in terms of freeing up energy, by being patient, being with that spirit of simplicity, that your energy will be profoundly available then for that yes, because you won't have tied it up into stuff that you don't need, unnecessary stuff. So, but that's how it looks on the outer plane. And what I'd just love to wrap it up and finish this pod with is back to that inner plane, that metaphysical viewpoint on how it looks from within. And as the Elven have shown me this, that it looks like the fanning out from that innermost presence of, if you imagine great swan feather like angelic wings fanning out, not yet in flight. It's simply as though your great wings are extending themselves out, patterning themselves forth. Like when the butterfly first comes from the cocoon, what happens first is that the butterfly extends its wings out, but actually the filaments that of the structural lines of the wings are not yet solid. They have to dry, to seal themselves. They're still liquid soft, these wings, as they unfurl from the cocoon. And so the butterfly first its wings need to dry off and firm up. And it's much like that gesture now within ourselves. We get to let our wings unfurl and firm into their new pattern of light around us, to feel the orb of your aura. And you may really begin to feel these exquisite tones, flashes, codes, lights, colors coming into being in your field around you. I keep seeing orbs of violet, of lavender flashing around me through these last few days. And so allowing for that magnificent light display to start sounding itself, but still being with a certain economy of presence with yourself, not yet, as I say, letting that catch into currents of overexpansion. Let the orb of your aura form in your stillness, in your silence, when you drop in, when you become present with yourself. You can be with that meditation to feel the forming, the filling of the orb of your aura, your angelic wings becoming ready for flight, not yet in flight, but ready for flight, filling out. So yeah, may this pod bless your most beautiful path of the earth and the stars. And yeah, thank you so much for all the beautiful responses last week to the last pod. And yeah, I will. That's part of my vow for this pod. And I can feel it's the part of the medicine of my own innermost essence, is to move on that spectrum between the deepest personal translucent sharing at times, as I share my own journey of Starlight becoming, which I am very much upon, as well as these more interpersonal, universal light sharings of what is taking place collectively within our ascension and the energies. So yeah, I will continue with that and always move as guided in the flow of the Elven Pod to share, because I feel they're so important. They're so precious one unto another, and it fascinates me as well to see how what is happening within us, how it plays out, how it expresses in our lives, what it means to this ground of basic goodness reforming itself within the heart of our most beautiful, ordinary lives, for this unbelievably sacred ground to be reclaimed, each one of us. Oh, that was a ladybird flying by. If you saw that, that was a ladybird doing a flyby. So, with so much love, and yeah, oh, and also, if you would love to write your book of Starlight this year, a huge invitation to that. We have a beautiful group forming, and that is very much a journey with me. I adore to help you write your book of Starlight. And it feels like the mirrors shimmer at the edge of your wings. If you feel drawn, it is the most beautiful step by step journey to bring through your elder record for the dawn. And in some ways, the more mysterious your sense of your book, the better, because that's truly where they arise from. Is this level of lighted consciousness of the new golden light codes of the dawn shimmering in through the star lines of that which we are, holding our earth wisdom, our star wisdom, our immortal starlight wisdom. And it's a calling that goes beyond any genre of book, any and limitation to any lineage, but simply that you have the sentience of this from those greater spheres of your being that would love to be written in, and as it comes through, to actually hold the resonance, to be truly light coded with what you feel it truly is, what you know it truly holds. And that's what the books of Starlight are. They're the ones that glow. Even once they're here and translated, they still glow with the light of beyond. It's been truly encoded and present within their pages. So yeah, I just adore to support this, and I'll make more times for calls available next week. But yeah, we'll start in March. So this is the time if you would love to begin, and you're so very welcome. So much love, this Imbolc, and farewell for now.